Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. It's Monday, that means it's Movie Monday. Today, we're on our way to Infinity War, getting close. Today we're talking about AntMan. That's right everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers Movie Monday, talking about AntMan tonight. I'm Rockin Robbie Billups, this is...
Jelani, Bullard.
This is...
Brooks.
And we are talking, like I said, about AntMan. I was shrinking the... Anyway, the words were shrinking. Anyway, AntMan. Okay. The culmination of Phase 2 MCU. We're building up to Infinity War, and we are getting close, guys. I am oozing with excitement for Infinity War, but we had to get through AntMan first. I think the movie's okay. I think it's great. I mean, no, I don't think it's great. I think it's okay. I think it's an okay film. It's got some really, really bad parts. It's got some really good, delightful parts. But it's so inconsistent in between the two that it's a hard film to enjoy all the way through for me. I think it's got one of the worst MCU villains, period, and that's saying a lot. I think it's got a great leading man with Paul Rudd as Scott Lang. Love Paul Rudd in this movie. Evangeline Lilly is fine in this movie. Michael Douglas is awesome in this movie. Michael Pena is awesome in this movie. Great performances in a really muddy script. The cat who plays Yellowjacket, I cannot stand Cross. I just cannot stand him. But I do love the rest of the performances, but I think the movie's just so uneven. It's in and out. I loved the little bit with the Falcon. That's cool and all, but overall, the movie's okay. It's got some redeeming qualities, but it's got a lot of stuff that bothers me. Jelani, what do you think about AntMan then and now? And by the way, my opinion now is the same as it was then. I had the same issues. What do you think?
Fuck this movie.
Damn. There goes our monetization.
Language.
Yeah, you'll get over it. Yeah, this movie's terrible. From beginning to end, there's not really a cohesive story for me to watch this from beginning to end. I've only watched it once. I only watched it in the theater once. I refuse to watch it again.
Oh, wow.
I can't wrap my head around what they did. First of all, to Hank Pym. Hank Pym should have been in the Age of Ultron. They should have at least acknowledged his existence and maybe even been the one to create Ultron. You don't have to put him in there.
Okay.
Just say, hey, Michael Douglas, hey, you look like you're this and this. You know, you can introduce him and help him create Ultron. All I need is a guy to be like, oh my gosh, my hubris has created a monster. I want that. I wanted that. So, I mean, and that's what I expected in the Age of Ultron. When I found out that Hank Pym wasn't going to be in that, I was already shut off by AntMan because I'm like, so what are we going to do? I mean, we've already done Age of Ultron. We've already made what Hank Pym is most known for. Then you make Hank Pym not even the main character. You make him the older character of Michael Douglas, which is fine. That's okay. But I really want to see Hank Pym Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I want Hank Pym Ant-Man. I want Hank Pym Ant-Man to fall or to be disgraced in some form. He doesn't have to hit anybody.
You want that comic book arc.
I want that comic book arc of a broken superhero. I wanted to see Tony Stark really drunk and really, really screw up too.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see that because Marvel characters are more than just happy-go-lucky heroes. They all have dark stories. I mean, the tragedy of Spider-Man, the tragedy of a lot of things, a lot of characters
Hulk,
that you have.
the X-Men.
They all have tragic backstories. So I wanted to see Hank Pym, and I got Scott Lang. And Scott Lang's fine, but he's not Ant-Man. He's not a founding member of the Avengers. I don't feel that he should have been the one you start out with. And Paul Rudd is fine. Do not get me wrong. I am okay with it. But I didn't like that concept at the beginning when they were touting it, and I was like, whatever. And then you made Wasp not Wasp. She's not even Wasp yet. Evangeline Lilly's not even Wasp at this point, but they hint that she is. I don't like that. I mean, you might as well, if you're going to do an Ant-Man movie, you might as well go and put Wasp in it right then.
Yeah.
You know, in some form or fashion. Go ahead and have her in there. It has funny parts. Michael Pena's hilarious in this movie. But still not enough for me to do it. The two funniest scenes I think are in the movie are when Michael Pena is explaining exactly what's going on.
Favorite.
It's everybody's favorite part of the movie.
Standout part of the movie.
But like, it's overrated on top of that because I
see
what Edgar Wright could have made, like we say. And it was a sloppy mess of a movie.
Yeah.
I will not watch it again.
This movie was like one of the earliest MCU films in development. Edgar Wright was starting to make this film before they were working on Iron Man even, I believe. So he had a lot invested, 3 different versions of the script. Marvel kept saying, well, maybe another writer should do it and you should just direct it. They kept, as the MCU evolved, they had to keep changing the scripts to fit in how Hank Pym would fit in the world and what they wanted to do. And eventually Edgar Wright left due to creative differences. I feel the Edgar Wright film that is missing when I watch Ant-Man. And that's one of the hardest things for me to deal with. They brought in Peyton Reed. Peyton Reed did like Liar Liar and a few other like successful comedies, some Jim Carrey movies and whatnot, but like it didn't feel... Edgar Wright said, I wanted to make a Marvel movie. Marvel didn't want to make an Edgar Wright film. I really wish Edgar Wright would have been able to make this movie. I think it would have really worked a lot better. It would have been its own thing. I feel like this is the moment when the MCU started cracking a little bit, showing their cracks, by not allowing their directors to actually be creative and to do their own thing outside of James Gunn. And of course the Russo brothers, though I do feel like the Russo brothers, as amazing as their movies in the MCU have been, Winter Soldier, Civil War, hopefully Infinity War, I feel like they're a little bit more willing to work with Marvel Studios than some of these people. However, don't hire Joss Whedon if you don't want Joss Whedon to do Joss Whedon. Don't hire Edgar Wright if you don't want Edgar Wright to do Edgar Wright. However, when they first hired him, they weren't Marvel Cinematic Universe, Marvel Studios yet. So maybe that... I'm disappointed that didn't work out. Speaking of disappointment, bro, what do you think about this movie?
I thought it was good.
Okay. I'm disappointed in it.
That's pretty much all I can say. It's good.
Good. Okay.
It's a very average movie, but it is enjoyable, entertaining. It has really nice visuals.
The visuals. The way that they
Doctor
show
Strange in that way. It has like some really cool visual moments that catch your attention. And I thought the story was a bit weak, but it served the plot, and overall it was average.
I like the overall story. I like the idea that, Scott Lang in the comics, of course, is an ex-con. He's got a daughter, Cassie. Cassie in this film is adorable.
She's adorable.
Oh, he's so ugly. I love him.
Yeah.
She is great. She says what's on her mind. She's a great character, really fun. Her douchebag stepdad, the cop, he's kind of there's interesting characters. Like I said, that you can feel the Edgar Wright movie that's missing in this film.
It was so close.
Everything is there. And I like the idea of, this is just like in the comics, he goes and he steals the Ant-Man costume. Of course, this is much more of Hank Pym manipulating him because this is the guy he needs. Right. And you really find out that it's just because he's expendable. And he doesn't want to put his daughter in the danger. And Hope Van Dyne, of course, is a character from M2, the M2 line that's set in the future. She was the Stinger. They bring her in. It's a way to kind of, if Hank Pym's that old, what do you do about Janet? They allude to the mystery that Janet's still alive, possibly somewhere. She has shrunk down. I like how they deal with the subatomic thing. That's really, really cool.
But he can get out of it. Oh, he can get out of it. Oh, Scott can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, well, Scott realized that, I just need to take this piece of this and put it in there, and it works. And that's kind of convenient and out of nowhere. But it is what it is. And we all saw that coming. The plot is predictable, but I do like the overall skeleton of the plot. Of Hank Pym, the young guy, the old guy, their relationship. Evangeline Lilly as Hope in this movie is awesome. I love the scene where she's just trying to teach Scott. He's like, oh, come on, you can throw a punch. And she just like knocks the hell out of him over and over. And then later on, he uses that move that she keeps doing on him. Like that Black Widow move where she comes up and like grabs him and like with her legs and like spins him around and knocks him down. He uses that later on in the movie. And that kind of a nice little circle. T.I.'s in this movie, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
And he's actually really cool.
He's actually good in this movie.
Everybody.
All the side character
stuff is cool.
The heist thing with those people, they're all right.
Yeah, I like the heist aspect of this film. I love the bit with Falcon. What do you think about the bit with Falcon?
He was shoehorned in.
Of course it is. How is Black Widow not shoehorned into Iron Man 2, but Falcon is shoehorned in? They're ripping off the Avengers.
Let's go ahead.
Last week we didn't even talk about Falcon and War Machine joining and the new team at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay.
However.
You didn't like that part with Falcon?
Just didn't like it.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it did kind of make Falcon a little bit of jokey.
And he needed to be there because you need to get Civil War involved. But then you do a Civil War thing, and then you got another movie in between Civil War and what was it, Doctor Strange before
the next movie after this is Civil War.
Yeah, so I don't like it.
It goes directly into Civil War, then Doctor Strange.
It just feels weird, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm done.
Do you like the scene with Falcon?
I've checked out.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun.
And I think visually they do a good
And it
job.
shows what Scott can do.
He's
Exactly.
tiny
He's the worthy
and he
opponent.
fights.
They do a good job of showing how he learns these powers and how these powers actually work. And I think it looks interesting. I love that bit when he has to jump through the keyhole and he just hits the door.
Yeah.
And I love the training bit. This is very thinly. It's like during all the rewrites that happened, it somehow just became this like.
It's just a hodgepodge of nonsense.
And just like vanilla.
It's just,
You know, it's like this worked in Iron Man.
You made
So let's do that.
Iron Man again.
You know, it's kind of funny that
you made Iron Man
Falcon's a
again.
better opponent for Scott than the villain was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Yellowjacket is the villain. In the comic books, of course, Hank Pym had a lot of mental issues. He created Ultron. He beat his wife, Janet, at one point. He became a villain. Yellowjacket, a very villainous type character, had mental breakdowns. A lot of that they just wanted to steer clear from, and I think that's why they took Hank Pym, made him the older guy with a tragic past. You can see the regret inside of Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas
he
does a
play
great
an
job.
excellent Hank Pym.
You see the regret that's there in the relationship, especially between him and Hope. And you do see a little bit of the original Wasp and a little bit of him, and it works.
I like that they had that. You know, that they were superheroes way back when.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I think they should do something similar with the Fantastic
yeah, like
Four.
maybe were there other superheroes around?
Yeah,
then?
the Fantastic Four.
aside
Right.
from Captain America.
Hopefully,
you know?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah, something like absolutely. So I do like all that.
I do
bit.
like that aspect. I will give you that. I will give you that.
So what they do is they basically take the character of Yellowjacket, split it off, and mix it with Cross, who is a character, Darren Cross, I believe. Is it
Yeah,
Darren
Darren
Cross?
Cross.
It is a character from the comic books. Ant-Man doesn't have too many big villains.
No.
Didn't
he have a tornado guy for a while?
Well, there's the Egghead, right? Not Egghead. No, it's
was
Egghead.
Batman.
No, I think there's an
There's the
Egghead
Egghead from
in
Marvel?
Ant-Man too. It's not the
Alright.
Vincent Price Egghead, but I think there's a,
Excellent.
yeah. Oh man. Anyway, so they basically spin that out into its own character. Yellowjacket. He gets the suit. This dude is bad. He is the most generic Anakin
Bland.
Skywalker-esque villain
I
out
think
there.
he's kind of like an example of like why comic book villains, if you like portray them as if they're in a comic book, don't work in
Yeah,
film.
that's him.
He's so petulant too, and he's got this whole, like I said, Anakin type vibe to him, where he's like, "I was the genius. I deserve to know."
I don't even know that guy's
And the
name.
whole time, he's just so pushy as
Yeah.
from the very beginning. He's like, "I knew you were Ant-Man. Why can't you just tell me?" Oh,
my leg.
he's a poor man's Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
He's a second-rate Obadiah Stane.
Yep.
He's a fourth-rate Obadiah Stane. That's what they wanted to do. He's like, I'm going to shave my head to be like Obadiah Stane and Lex Luthor. You don't have to do that, homie. He's like, I know. I'm going to do it. I don't know if it's.
I like to kill that guy though.
I want
Good.
to. Still, yeah. That's
That was
okay.
fine.
But he just goes from like he never
kept
has an
killing
arc.
those
He's
lambs.
just so
Just
he's a
there.
bad guy. Just because he's a
Look at
greedy
me.
corporate bad guy. Look at me. And how does he know how to operate that yellow jacket suit?
Just immediately. Just hey.
Has he trained for
He
this?
developed it, right?
Yes, but not. What does that mean?
It didn't even work.
Just because
He designed it.
because you design a car doesn't mean you know how to drive it. And I think the Yellow Jacket suit's a little bit more complex than. And I think they had some missed opportunities because they do learn how to grow things in this movie. But like, there was an Ant-Man season 1, like comic book graphic novel type thing, right? And the villain in it like took the technology, reversed it and started taking like wasps and shit like that and making them big and used them to like, even that would have been cool and kind of like 50s sci-fi and something like that. So you do have the big ant that like is wandering around and it's now Cassie's
Anthony.
dog or whatever.
Or not Anthony.
And Anthony is awesome. That was
Anthony
a
is
great
awesome.
bit. That was a great bit. And Paul Rudd is amazing in this movie. And I love the costume.
He's fine.
Do you like the costume?
No, I don't like that.
You don't even like the costume. Do you like the costume?
I thought it was cool.
The costume looks fine. Looks great.
It's okay.
And I like the tease into the wasp at the end.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like this film, I am pumped to see Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like now
And
Peyton
this is
Reed
the
will get
funny
to
part.
do the film that he
This
should
is the
do.
funny part. I can't wait to see that film.
Yeah.
Because I know it's gonna be solidly written, and I'm gonna have a decent movie that's not gonna be a generic pile of shit that Ant-Man is. So I know that's gonna be better, and I know
Okay.
and I know
There's nothing you like about this
Paul
film?
now. Other than Michael Pena telling those two stories from the beginning and the end of the movie.
And Paul Rudd. You said you like Paul Rudd.
And Paul Rudd's fine.
Paul Rudd's good in the role.
He's a serviceable Scott Lang.
I think you feel for him. You understand. He's kind of like broken.
understand.
He's like,
And then he screws it all up later. But
yeah, he does.
yeah,
He keeps breaking the law.
He just does
Spoilers.
stuff. Yeah, he's a lawbreaker.
You like Paul Rudd in this film?
Yeah, I thought he was good.
I do too. I love him. Speaking for Hammer Time Holshoe, who's not on this video with us, he loves Paul Rudd. He loves him
Paul Rudd.
in this movie. Absolutely.
Shut up, John.
Right. What else? What is there? Anything else to talk about in this movie? There's a post-credit scene that kind of leads a little bit into Civil War that shows you.
Bucky.
We got the Bucky. We know now that Cap has Bucky, and Falcon says, "Hey, I know a guy." They talk about the Sokovia Accords,
Right.
kind of what leads into Civil War. It's a little tiny tease into it, but it makes sense why they know who Ant-Man is, and that's why Falcon's in this movie.
Right.
Right. The train scene. So this bit with Yellowjacket at the end is just so stupid, and I hate this villain. He was one of the worst parts of the film, and the movie gets really slow towards like the beginning of the third act into the second act. It gets a little slow, but the villain's one of the worst parts. But that scene when they're fighting, and it's Cassie's bedroom, right?
Yeah.
And it's like Thomas the Tank. That's great because especially when they like pull out and like this giant explosion, and they pull out, and it's just ding ding ding. That's kind of fun. That's kind of fun.
The giant train crashing through the house.
Yes. Yeah, and then the train gets in line. So it's got some funny bits, but overall I think it's very imbalanced, and it's just the skeleton of the movie it should be. Jelani doesn't seem like this as much. This is his Age of Ultron, as it is, like what I felt about Age of Ultron.
Yeah, but
and
not
Brooks
as
seems to be
wordy.
kind of forgiving about it, so let's get to the rankings, basically. Out of 5 possible you digs, Jelani, what do you give it?
0, you dig.
0.
This is pretty bad.
He gave another movie 0. Dark World.
Yeah, I was.
Which is worse? What's a better film, Dark World or
better
Ant-Man?
world? A movie.
What's better?
Give me a second.
You've had.
Could I watch? I could watch Thor: The Dark World again and be okay with it. I mean, it's still garbage, but I could sit through it.
You have given 2 of these movies 0 you dig. So Ant-Man has no redeeming qualities to you.
None.
Wow.
Michael Pena is the best part of this movie with T.I., and that doesn't save it.
Okay.
It's not enough.
Okay.
It's not enough.
Wow. Brooks, out of 5 possible you digs, what do you give Ant-Man?
I give Ant-Man 2.5.
2.5. 2.5.
It has its.
So you're pretty
problems.
forgiving of it, but you don't think it's very
It
good.
has its problems, but it's still, it's still a fun movie to watch.
Okay.
I haven't watched it again.
0, 2.5. I'm going straight up 2. 2 you digs. 2 you digs. That gives us an average of 1.47. Something like that, right? Our math is really, really tight and strict here at Pop Culture Philosophers. So, no you digs, 2.5, 2 you digs. The 2 you digs for the bits that are fun in the movie, and it starts off good, and it just starts losing it. And I just feel like the first act is the most true to what Edgar Wright intended to do. That's just me. I love Michael Douglas in the film. I love Paul Rudd. I love Evangeline Lilly. Love Michael Pena. I love T.I.
You made me sit through that safe scene. It was just the whole safe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the way that happened was like, man, a heist film that doesn't quite build up to a heist film.
Nobody's making you do anything.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyway, that's what we thought about Ant-Man. Not too highly. Some a little bit more forgiving than others were. Anyway, what did you think?
Okay.
Yeah, I did not like Age of Ultron. Check out last week's video if you haven't already, and that's a fun video. Let us know in the comments down below, what do you rank Ant-Man out of 5 possible you digs? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Were we wrong? Were we right? What do you think? Who do you agree with? What do you think and why? We want to know in the comments down below. So thank you guys so much for checking out the video. Be sure to join us next Monday. We're going to start Phase 3 of our MCU Rewatch with Captain America, Civil War, and oh my goodness, are we excited, because that movie includes the first appearance of the MCU Spider-Man, and most importantly, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and we'll be getting to that one very, very soon as well. So thank you guys for watching the video. Please do like, share, and subscribe. We got a weekly comic book review that we do, and like I said, weekly pop culture wrap-ups, and Movie Mondays every single Monday. Join us here at Pop Culture Philosophers. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Thanks for rocking with us. I've been Rockin Robbie Billups. This is
Jelani Bullard.
This is
Brooks.
We are Pop Culture Philosophers. You dig? I was trying to shrink. I was trying to shrink the words.
You always seem to say the title is weird.
Yeah.
Ultron.
Ultron. All right.
AntMan.